Started? Yeah, so good afternoon, children. Hetty, sit, Hetty. Hetty, sit. Good girl. Just to say, if you can see me behind this very big friend of mine, children, she's called Hetty. Now, as you can see, she likes treats. Hetty's being very well behaved. I'm not sure I'm going to get much story read out today, children. Oh, look, she's being very good. Let's see if I can read this little story with Hetty listening. Oh, this is called Don't Kick Up a Fuss, Guss, and it's by Adria, Meserve. Good girl, Hetty, sit down. Good girl, Hetty. Isn't she lovely, Hetty? She's a very big friend of mine, aren't you, lovely Hetty? Are you going to let me read the story now, Hetty? Thank you very much. This is Don't Kick Up a Fuss, Guss. And it's about... Can you still see me, children? It's about a big zebra. A big zebra and a little zebra. Guss was a little zebra who lived in Africa. He loved to gallop and jump about on the hot, dusty savannah. There's little Guss. There's big Guss. One morning, Guss was playing. It hadn't rained for ages, so the ground was very dry. He stamped his hooves, he reared, he bucked, and made the biggest dust clouds ever. Just then, Mum called Guss. "Come along, dear. We're going for a long walk." "But I want to make dust clouds," said Guss, digging his hooves in. "Don't kick up a fuss, Guss," said Dad. "It's too hot here. The grass is dry, and the river has very nearly dried up." Before Guss could say anything more, his family had trotted off to join the rest of the herd. They walked along a riverbank and through a forest. "Walking is boring," moaned Guss. "I want to go home." Guss's family did their best to make the journey fun. When Guss got bored of singing, Grandma played I Spy. "Are we nearly there yet?" said Guss. "Walk nose to tail, please," Mum said to Guss. "No galloping off on your own," said Dad. Dad sang 5 Little Zebras with Guss, and Mum sang Here We Go Round the Acacia Tree. "We're much closer," said Grandpa. "Let's play Count the Mongooses." But then they got stuck in a traffic jam. They waited and waited and waited to cross a bridge. Guss got really fed up. "Don't kick up a fuss, Guss," said Dad. "There's nothing we can do." When they finally reached the other side of the bridge, Guss bolted. He leapt between a giraffe's legs and under the elephant's trunk and galloped off out of sight. Guss's family were furious. Let me just see what I've done with my little... I think Hetty's coming back, children, for a little bit of a treat. Do you want some more treat, Hetty? Oh, can you sit down then? Sit. Oh, you're such a good girl, Hetty. Isn't she lovely? She's come for a little bit of treat, haven't you, Hetty? I think Hetty likes my story, don't you, children? There you are, Hetty. You're a very big girl, aren't you? Do you want to listen? I've forgotten where I've got to, children, so I'm going to start here. Guss's family were furious when they finally caught up with him. We're going to finish this walk. Even if we have to carry you, said Dad. Don't kick up a fuss, Guss. But Guss wasn't going to give in just yet. He kicked up the biggest fuss ever. Oh dear. Oh dear. Eventually, Guss wore himself out. If you've quite finished, we will carry on, said Dad. We need to catch up with the others. Mum gently pushed Guss along as they continued on their journey. No more fussing. At last they stopped and rested for the night. It will all seem better in the morning, said Mum, nuzzling his mane. The next day they made better progress. They crossed the river and finally reached the top of a ridge. Guss knew there was no point in kicking up a fuss. Trekked up and down a mountain. From there they could see a lush green valley before them. We're nearly there, cried Mum, and pointed at something glistening in the distance. Look, I think it's a big pond and all the lovely greenery. Guss joined the other zebras as they bounded down the hill, leapt off the grassy bank and landed in the waterhole. Guss thought it was wonderful. He hoped he'd never have to leave this place. Guss jumped off the rocks, dived into the plunge pools and swooshed down waterfalls. He made the biggest wave ever. We're all getting wet, said Guss's dad. Splosh! Don't kick up a fuss, shouted Guss, laughing. So I think this story... Are you coming to listen, Hetty? Hetty! Are you coming to listen? Hetty? I think Hetty's just looking at the book from a distance. You coming, Hetty? Hetty? Look. Hetty, look. What's this? Come on, Hetty. There, she's coming back, children. She's coming back. Here, Hetty. Come on then. You good to sit? Good girl. You good to sit, Hetty? So I think this story is about... I think it's about children and their parents, isn't it? That some children do make a fuss, but then at the end they got to where they wanted to go, which was to the lovely waterhole with all the family together. So as much as Guss made a fuss, he still had a nice day with his family. Thank you for listening, children. Bye-bye.